Money, money, money must be funny in the rich man's world. Money, money.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Well, today I am not going to be taking any questions except one, because we have quite a lot of ground to cover, all of which have come from the bongo bongo drums. So instead of answering questions today, yes, Aurora, I am going to just deal with the subjects as they arise, but I will start with one question, since we're going to be on a light note, as a lot of the rest of it is going to be relatively weighty. So Alana Wills says, Lady C, did you happen to have a small cameo role in the first episode of Feud, Capote versus the Swans? There is a woman seated by Capote in a dinner table scene, and I did a double take. She could be your twin. I'm afraid she has to be my twin because she's not me. Thank you very much. I haven't seen it yet, but I look forward to seeing it. I am so inundated with work, you have no idea. Just desperately trying to get through all that I have to do, not the least of which is to finish my book. Well, anyway, so we are going to start with the King's health. The King's announcement, which was made yesterday, I need to be very careful how I address this, because I don't want to violate any privacy. I am not sure what he wants the public to know, and therefore I'm going to be very careful what I say. But at this point, it is looking good. Let me put it that way. I don't want to say what it is and what it isn't, in case it would trespass upon territory that he does not want anybody stepping upon. But it is not the most, it's not the totally expected, let's put it that way. But I don't want to say more than that, because I don't know what is getting out and what is going to be out. And I prefer not to be the person to breach any boundaries, let's put it that way. I think by now most people will know that Harry is going to be coming over to see his father, which I think is a very good thing. A very good thing as well is that Meghan isn't coming, which is a very good thing as well, because nobody wants to see Meghan. Nobody at all. And Harry is the King's son. The King loves Harry. I've always said the King would like things to be better between Harry and himself. And I think it's manageable if Harry comes on his own. It would be totally unmanageable, very inappropriate, and a total disaster if Madam came along as well. You know, I'm so important. Everybody's just got to bow, bend, and scrape before me. I think nobody wants that. Nobody wishes to have to put up with that. And I suspect that Harry might actually be quite relieved, hopefully, for the opportunity to breathe a non-Meghan air. Let's wait and see, because this is one that will play and play. Having said all of that, I'll touch upon this later as well, but I'm going to make the point now. The temptation in situations like this, when crises create the possibility of a rapprochement, for people to think, oh, well, things will change because people will change. People don't change. I've seen it to my own personal and financial cost. When you forget that a viper is a viper, and you think, oh, isn't it a charming bracelet? Oh, it looks real, but it's really not. It's very Van Cleef and Arpels. And then it bites you, and you realize, oh, I'm poisoned. As long as Harry is with Meghan, I think there is no hope in the long term for any rapprochement of any durability within the family. With her out of the picture, I think there is the possibility of a managed rapprochement, not one that would encourage anybody but a fool to lower his or her guard entirely, but which could set up the situation for an apparently, and I use the word apparently in its true meaning, an apparently working relationship, or an apparently and superficially positive relationship despite any undercurrents. Now we come on to something really rather juicyful. Bongo drums have been beating in my direction about Harry and Meghan's dire financial straits and their attempts to earn some money for themselves. Of course, they say it's for Archewell, but we all know that Archewell means, well, Archie's my son, and therefore I've got to support him in the style to which I have become accustomed. One of the things that Harry has been doing is he has been approaching on the QT international friends of his. I should actually say more acquaintances, but social friends, some of whom, regrettably, have parents who are friends of his father. That's not looking good for H. No, it's not. Anyway, his idea is to have a top flight polo match in Santa Barbara with top flight grand polo players from all over the world who will pay $10,000 apiece to play in the game. For Archewell, of course. Isn't it wonderful when charity starts at home? It really is. Well, one or two of the people that he's approached have turned him down. Isn't that wicked of them, Mickey? Can you imagine turning H down just because they don't want to give him $10,000 to play polo for him to raise money for himself? Oh, sorry for Archewell. Well, let's see how that goes, because that really is scraping the bottom of the barrel. But it's not the only scrape that is taking place at the moment. Because, wait for it, Meghan has approached somebody who is well established in the jewellery field, and I'm not going to mention her name beyond saying that she shares a surname with a famous 1950s screen goddess. Sorry, hint, hint to those of you who want to do the math. This person does jewellery, lines of jewellery for top of the line houses. Remember what the devil wore? What did the devil wear, Mickey? The devil wore Prada. And Meghan has come up with the idea that maybe they can do a business with her where I suppose she'll go on, I don't suppose it's QVC. Hello everybody, my name is Meghan the Duchess of Sussex, and I think since I'm a style icon, you will want to buy jewels from me. Now, this is my own personal range. There's this ring. It's only $50,000 normally, but you can get it for $799 today. There's this brooch, which, well, that should be $80,000, but just for today, since I love you all so much, you can get it for $899. And what about this parole? Well, that should be $120,000, but you can get it for $999 today. Am I not generous? Desperation stakes are being run in Montecito, evidently. Of course, they now have a really good excuse to decamp and come back to England. Oh, you know, I always loved my father, the one who I sometimes, when I'm doing exercises, think, ooh, let's just rat-a-tat him, but I really love him. Yes, I do. That's why I say so many bad things about him, and maybe I should go back to England. Meg, don't you think we should go back? We can make some more money there, yeah. Oh, H, I don't know about that, you know. I'm not going to be able to live in England. I mean, nobody's going to adore me the way they do in California. I have all these irons in the fire at the moment. of irons in the fire that will make me a whole load of money. I mean, you know, what's the name of that show we're going to do? Meet Me at the Stench? Oh, I Was a Wench? Oh, Sitting on the Bench? Well, whatever it's called, you know? The one that Netflix bought the rights to, well, and it's our love story, H. And we've got to remember, we've got to be in love. So, yeah, I think we're having trouble casting the role of the heroine. I think it should be me. Yeah, I think it should be me. I better suppose we better not call her a heroine. We'd better call her a heroine. Yes. After all, we don't want anybody getting the wrong idea now, do we? No, we don't. Well, let's wait and see how they manage to spin this matter of the king's illness to their advantage. Because, of course, these are the sort of situations where breaches are ostensibly healed, and then down the line you give the viper an opportunity to strike again. I know what I'm talking about. I made that mistake with my mother, my dear mother. So, leopards don't change their spots, and they don't stop swiping. Although, if it suits them, they might lie still for a while. So let's see what happens there. Now, let me see what else I've been told. Oh, yes. Now, this is even more serious. Imran Khan and his wife. I have been told by friends of mine who are aware of the inner workings of the Pakistani state that Imran Khan was toppled by his allies. Let me put it that way. I don't want to be too specific, because he refused to go along with certain policies and wanted to maintain his country's independence of movement, and that he was toppled, fabricated toppling, because he's whatever he is, he's not corrupt, and that he has been in prison and remains in prison, and his wife, they have trumped up charges against her, saying that their marriage isn't valid, some nonsense about you need to wait a certain length of time for whatever, but Muslim marriages are dissolved by I divorcee being said 3 times. So that evidently is another fabrication to put pressure on him by also nailing her. And that he fully expects that he might never emerge from custody, that they might find a way of easing his path to the next life, which I think would be a very great shame, because Imran Khan, not only has he been a great cricketer, and not only was he a great swordsman when we were all young, he certainly cut us sways through the ladies of London. not through me. I only ever met him glancingly. And he wasn't my type. I don't know whether I was his or not. I never looked long enough. I just thought, nah, not for me. And if I have no interest, that was it. It's as if they didn't exist. So, but he might have had no interest in me also, let's face facts. Because he was certainly interested in Susanna Constantine. And I don't think who's interested in Susanna would be interested in me and vice versa. But he is an honourable man. He is a good man. And he evidently believes in his destiny. And that his destiny is to stand up for Pakistan's best interests, that this is his allotted role on earth. And if it results in his speedy departure from this earth onto the next one, whether it is covertly, overtly, legally, or some other way, because Pakistan is notorious for getting rid of its inconvenient leaders. But evidently, the army in Pakistan is basically controlled by the state that I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to fall foul of any possible rulings that could affect this channel. But Pakistan's main ally calls the shots, and when Imran Khan refused to allow them to dictate to him because he felt it wasn't in Pakistan's best interests, they set about toppling him, and having toppled him, he's then effectively handed over to the I'm trying to find a polite word. I won't even bother. He's handed over to the Pakistani implementers of policy which dictates that they will remain in power ad infinitum, irrespective of elections, because they are the army and they are backed by an even more powerful state far, far away from them. I think it's very unfortunate because I have a worldview that is sufficiently sophisticated to understand that there is room on this earth for people who do not 100% agree with certain policies, but who basically believe in the coexistence of states in a civil and civilized manner. So, evidently, Imran Khan is prepared already to never emerge from prison. And of course, the last inconvenient prime minister who ended up falling foul of the Pakistani authorities and their main ally was hanged. Bhutto was his name. All very awkward and distressing. But to go back to rather lighter things, it will be interesting to see what Harry and Meghan do in the next few days and weeks. Are they going to take full advantage of the King's condition? Because I can tell you something. If they come back here, it's only a matter of time before temptation is not resisted and havoc reigns supreme. But it's a little bit too early to know who is going to do what, when, where, why, and how. Well, it looks as if we have time for a question or two. So, without further ado, I am going to read out what Lady MCD says. And I'm going to edit this, okay? Hi, Lady C. I wouldn't normally mention another channel, but I know you don't normally watch them. But in this case, I think it's easier than trying to recount the whole video. In the Vintage Read Show episode, an anti-Catherine Princess of Wales narrative, Shauna talks about 3 books. Incidentally, I've seen snippets of her show and I think she's very good value. Because, of course, every now and then I have to look at something if somebody asks a question. So I make that point for what it's worth. I may not look at all the shows, but I certainly am aware of some of them because of the questions that I get asked. Shauna talks about 3 books and some articles that appear to attack Catherine. One predating The Spectacle by 4 days. The Spectacle. Is that ghastly wedding that took 3 days after we got married? That, well, you know, I mean, I'm so self-sacrificing. I just had to oblige the British public. After all, they'd never seen anybody as special as me, and I had to treat them to that sight. The author is an American journalist who writes under a pseudonym for People magazine. It is the first time I had heard of any of this woman or her work. I also hadn't realized these alleged attacks on Catherine had started so early. I was wondering if you had come across the books and articles, and if so, what are your thoughts? Well, I'm afraid I don't know what you're referring to because I don't know what the articles are, but I am aware of the fact that, shall we say, Meghan's people had Catherine in her sights before her wedding. Remember, Meghan had Catherine and Charlotte in her sights before the wedding, at the fitting. I know this from people from Givenchy who were there. There's also the fact that long before Meghan actually even met Harry or William or Catherine, Meghan was being really nasty and condescending about Catherine, because on her blog, when Catherine was getting married, she could not have been nastier and more condescending, as if I'm Shira and she's just a goody two shoes. I mean, as if being a good and kind and decent person is something to despise, and being a rather tiresome oppositionist and perpetual rebel without a cause. Well, actually with a cause. The cause is, I want to be famous, I want to be richer than I am, I want to have everybody's attention, is more worthy. So if you trace back Meghan's dislike of Catherine, it predates even meeting Catherine. That should tell you an awful lot about what motivates Meghan, because she disdained and despised Catherine, because Catherine was, in her eyes, a goody two-shoes. And I'm Shira, rebel princess, at a time that she was nothing but a cheap hustler trying to make her way in the world, and having hustled those buns into royal status, she couldn't let go, because character is destiny, and her character was that of a cheap and vulgar hustler. But she's always had it in for Catherine. Always. So I hope that answers the question. Linda Coleman says, forever US citizen on this site, please contact your senator and let them know who they allowed to speak and try to influence our laws. This is a foreign diplomat who has acknowledged in writing in his own book of drug use. His visa should have been taken away and sent back home with his precious wife and family. But they can't send back the wife, she's an American citizen. They can't send back the younger daughter because she's an American citizen, born in America. How disgusting, and thoroughly believe we will start looking into Hooley Place in the Senate, the next voting session, if you are going to continue to allow such people to have a speaking place or an acknowledgement in any fashion in our laws. Meghan married Harry. He didn't marry her and get US citizenship. How did he get over here taking drugs? Who's covering up? The Senate needs to wake up, take a statement and say our law that we should have to protect our children is there. We don't need Harry and Meghan to try to put their big wig on and open their mouths trying to influence United States laws. Well, thank you very much for that, Linda Coleman. I'm sorry if I have not read it out as ably as you would have liked, but I think it gets the point across. Let us see what happens with the Heritage Foundation hearing. Of course, the courts might well resist on the basis of the fact that Harry's visa records are private, notwithstanding the fact that he has breached his privacy and opened up a very interesting legal question, which is, are you interested? No, sorry. Are you entitled to the protection of the law of privacy after you have violated your own privacy by making it clear that you have been in breach of federal law. It's a very interesting legal concept, and it will be very interesting to see what the court makes of it. Are they going to hide behind the sort of standard, basic, unadventurous application? Well, privacy is privacy. Or are they going to take a more enlightened approach, which is, once you have violated your privacy, you're not necessarily entitled to further protection of your privacy, which incidentally is a point that Harry made on his 21st birthday speech to the press. When he was asked about his relationship with Chelsea Davy, he made the point that if he answered the question fully, he would be violating their privacy, and thereafter it would be open season. Since when, of course, his attitude has changed. He's become very Meghan, which is, I violate my privacy when I want, and when I don't want, you've got to respect it. Let's see what the court comes up with. Laura Alfaro says, Lady C, I have seen a video from the Spanish TV program Fiesta, where Concha Calleja faces up to the British reports and denies to offer an apology to William and Catherine for the comments of coma of Kate. She stands up for what she said. Can you make something of that? She says it's all true what she reported. Well, as Mandy Rice Davies said in the witness box, she would, wouldn't she? It's been my experience in life that most people don't throw their hands up and say, I got it wrong, when they did. And it's a very convenient story, because when Catherine bounces back and is seen in the public, Concha Calleja can say, well, you see, she recovered, even though she was never in a coma. You see how that one works? Sleights of hands are so interesting, and one sees them constantly in public life, especially dealing with the royal family. Lucy Adams says, if I may say, Lady Colin, it's no longer about the royal family, it's about we the people. If anything, the gossip, the lies, the rumours are getting worse. It's causing Britain serious harm and becoming very dangerous. We are being sent to hell in a handbasket. The gossip and rumours being circulated worldwide on social media are of the nature, I am being too polite to repeat, very serious allegations also. The royal silence isn't working. It might have done in the past, but so serious are the rumours, it's not working anymore. I've not been on this site for a while, busy checking out the wider world. I am tech savvy. Good for you, I'm not. Thought I would bring these new developments to the attention of those who might be concerned, like our government. Well, I'm afraid you've not been very particular, and I'm not tech savvy, and I do not wade in the sea of the net. So I know there are all sorts of bizarre things out there, but the reality is when crazy people come up with crazy things and make crazy claims, and it's so obvious that they're rubbish, it doesn't really matter, does it, if you don't deny them? I mean, you would be denying more than you would on a daily basis than it would be feasible to deny if every time there was a false rumour that you denied it. Far better that to let the most preposterous things sink when they can't swim of their own accord. To an extent, silence is very often a very effective way of starving false narratives of the oxygen which they need to actually flourish. Rose Robinson says, for a proud black woman of color, why call her daughter after two white women and not name her after her black mother? Says enough for me. Very, very good point, Rose Robinson. But you see, Doria may be the queen of herbs. H. I'm Uriah Heep, and that's just fabulous grass. Try some son-in-law. Well, she may be the queen of grass, and she may be the empress of mischief making, and that I have been reliably informed by members of the family is a fact. But she's not a member of the royal family. She's not an aristocrat. Megsy baby suffers from terminal snobbery and overeager ambition. And look at where it's got her. It's got her into a position not only as a member of the royal family, who started out as being one of the most popular couples on earth, but now as one of the most reviled women on earth. But she's still royal. And she wasn't going to name the child after her mother. Why would she do that? It's not classy. Princess Doria doesn't sound right. No. And we're certainly not going to have Princess Elizabeth. We're going to have Princess Lilibet. That really is one in the eye for that old woman, isn't it? So when I want to reprimand Lilibet, I say, Lilibet, you're just an awful child. You're just awful. You're just dreadful. Go on, Lilibet. How dare you give me a lip? Who do you think you are? You're of no consequence to me, Lilibet. Don't you give me any lip. Gosh, isn't it fun killing two birds with one stone? I'm so clever. That's to show you, old woman. How dare you tell me that you own the name royal? You don't own anything. You didn't own the name royal and you didn't own your own name, and I'm here to show you. Lilibet, sit down. Tiresome creature. Gosh, I just buzz every time I make Lilibet know her inferior place compared with mine. Think that dynamic is going on? You may not think so, but I think so. That's my opinion, going off the disdainful and haughty and arrogant and uppity attitude of Megsy baby. Anything else would be out of character. Now you see why it was so important to name that child Lilibet. Talk about too clever by half. Well, she's turning out to be stupid by whole, because so far everything ends in failure. And let's see if her jewellery enterprise takes off the ground. And let's see if Harry's high-flown polo scheme, $10,000 for each rider to pay him, Archibald, same thing of course, for the privilege, and of course they're going to have to fly themselves, and they're going to have to fly their animals to Santa Barbara. Oh dear, very expensive property. And I would imagine that while they're there, there's got to be at least an auction, and they're going to be expected to bid. Oh. Who'd like this fabulous piece of jewellery from my collection, the Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex collection? This is a genuine ruby surrounded by genuine diamonds in a genuine setting of white and yellow gold. Shall we start the bidding at $250,000? It's worth at least $10,000. I think. Come on. Prince, whatever your name is. And who's that? Oh, is that the Nawab of wherever? Ah, I see a Maharaja. Oh, gosh, I see an Imperial Highness. And H is only a Royal Highness. Well, sort of still. Watch this space. I will keep you up to date as the bongo drums beat out the tune for us. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless and goodbye. And if you have enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care.